Hi everybody, and welcome back to the 4th Annual Crafty Christmas in July 25 event hosted by Terry from Sweet Pea Papers. 30 collaborators are participating in this year's event. There will be 1 to 2 videos every day with over 50 videos throughout July. Follow the links in the description box below to watch all of the videos or to purchase the digital kits used in this year's collaboration. Why not join in the Christmas crafting fun for a chance to win one of over 20 prizes? The drawing will be held on the Sweet Pea Papers YouTube channel on Sunday, August 3rd. To enter, post photos or videos of your crafty Christmas project in the Sweet Pea Papers Facebook group with the hashtag Crafty Christmas in July 25 by July 31st. Welcome back to my Christmas project. If you have been following the series, you will know that in the last video I had mentioned that I wasn't sure how I was going to bind this into my album or to my cover for my journal. I did figure out a way to do it, and I will not have to ruin this front page, so that is really good. I'm really happy about that. Today, what I'm going to do in the video is I'm going to start building some of the ephemera and the pieces for my pages and my pockets. Now, I'm not going to be going through every single piece that I'm going to create, but I'm just going to go through some of them that I think might be interesting for you to see. The first one I have is this ticket here that is down in my stocking. So I've cut a piece of my lined paper that is the same size as my ticket, double the width. And I've scored it down the center. And what I'm going to do is adhere this. So this side is going to be adhered down to my tag. And then I'm going to add some additional embellishments to the other side of my paper, and it's going to fold open for some journaling. Now, I did mention that I wanted my pieces to be thinner because I don't want this, after I've added all my pieces, I don't want my journal to be super, super chunky. I mean, it's going to get a little bit chunkier, but I don't want it to be too chunky. So I'm trying to keep my pieces as thin as I can, but I don't want them to be super flimsy where they aren't usable either. So that's where doubling up some of the paper like this will make them a little bit stronger. I've taken one of the snow globes from the collection. I did back it onto some plain white paper, and I'm going to create a tuck spot. I've taken one of these. It was a ticket, but I cut the bottom off to make it a tag, and I put my little tiny ephemera piece here, and then I backed it with some of the lined paper. It was the cut off from this, and I'm going to make this a little pocket here. I think that'll be cute. It'll be like a little tuck spot or a pocket for my tag. So in order for this to fit, I'm going to need to put my adhesive on the sides, but then towards the bottom, I can do a thicker area because that tag is so small. And I'm just going to center it here on my piece. And then I'll tuck my little tag back behind there. And then there's room here for some journaling too. And I could actually even adhere it down a little bit more and it would stick up a little bit further, but I'm afraid that if it doesn't tuck down in there, that it's going to fall out and stay in that pocket, and I don't want that to happen. Going to re-round these little ticket stub pieces here, and then I'm going to ink those where that white paper is showing through. And then place this down in here like this, so that when I pull this out, oh, is it gonna get stuck? Uh-oh. That might not work because I think it's getting stuck on this part here. Okay, so I did have to do a little tiny bit of surgery on my piece to get it to work. I really had to come in here and reinforce this and glue this black part down. It wasn't adhered all the way down to the end. And then I've cut this a little bit. I might actually cut it a little tiny bit more to make it a little bit more pronounced. And then this will slide down in here, and then it should, yep, slide right back out. And then I did add a little piece of fabric to my tag in a loop, and then I redid the back side of it. So this one has 3 layers on it because I did add that before I decided I was going to put a loop on there. I thought that might also help it to have a little bit more dimension to stop this from catching. And now that that's cut away a little bit more, I think it definitely slides down in there a little bit easier and comes out a lot easier too. So that is my piece for my first page. I have some Nouveau glitter drops here, and I think I'm going to use this on some of my pieces. So since this one is done, I am going to come in here, and I think I'm going to add this to the ball on his hat and the fur on his hat too. Just a little bit to give it some sparkle, and this won't add a bunch of dimension, so I like to use stuff like this sometimes. And I think I'm going to add some gold later, but I'm going to wait until everything is done. And then one of the other things that I think I'm going to do on some of these is use glossy accents, and I'm going to put this on his glasses to make it look like glass. Now this does take a while to dry, so I'm going to be sitting all of my pieces somewhere so that they will dry before I put them down into their pockets. So I don't know if you can see that. I mean, I've got other things I could put the glossy accents on, but I'm just going to leave it at that. And I'm going to let this dry before I put it back down in my stocking. I took a scallop circle punch, and I've punched little notches in my side pockets and in my top pockets. So I just decided on which part of the page I liked the look of it, and I just punched those notches so that the person who uses this journal will know that there is a pocket there and there's something in there. So for this first pocket here, I've taken this paper. This is from a different digital kit that I had. I think it's from a different Steampunk Christmas kit, and I've just backed it onto some lined paper. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tear this so it looks more like torn parchment. And then I'm going to ink up my edges, and then I'm just going to fold this and put it right down in that pocket. Okay, so now that I have this, I'm going to ink around the edges, and then I'll fold this in half, and I might add something steampunk to this side as well. Now with this page, I've gone ahead and added some of the decorative papers. This is from the collection. This is from a different Christmas collection. For here, I'm going to create a large tag. So I've just fussy cut this piece from the paper, and I'm going to be backing it on with this. And I'm just going to fussy cut around that and place it into the pocket. And just made it kind of like a little journaling tag. Pretty plain, but I think that this side has enough on it that the back side can be plain. And that's just gonna tuck right into this pocket here. And then for the front of this, I'm going to be using this envelope here. It is obviously not from a Steampunk collection, but I'm going to be covering this flower so you can't tell. I just like the shape of it. So I'm going to quickly turn this into the envelope, and then I'm going to add it to the little flap on my page, and it's going to be a little flip out. So I'm going to put the flower at the bottom so that my flap is on the left, and I'm going to place this here in the center of my page. And on this side, I want to make sure, I guess it's even if it's all the way down, it won't catch. Still, I need to make sure that this isn't gonna catch on that because that might rip the paper. So I can put it all the way even with that edge. And to make this easy on myself, I'm just going to eye where this is going to go, and I'm going to put a line here and here so that I know where to put my adhesive on the page so that I do not get this anywhere that it's not supposed to be. And then I'm just going to set this right back down and line up that edge here. This will flip out. And then for the inside, I've got this journaling card from a different Christmas collection that I backed on some just plain lined paper with some snowflakes, and it looks like some gears. So that's going to go in there. And then for the front here, I have this fireplace image from the paper collection. And then it's not quite large enough to cover the entire image of that flower. So I'm going to put this little scrap of fabric here to disguise some of that leaf and to bring some of that fabric in. I'm going to try to add a little bit of fabric to most of the pages or the tags. So I'm going to place this here. And then I think maybe if I do one of my little sentiments, there aren't very many. I wish I had more. I might look for some more in a different collection or create my own. This one says Silent Night. So I think I'm going to add this up here. Onto this maybe. Maybe I will end up adding it. Oh, I don't know. Do I like it down here? I kind of like the layered look, but the idea was to put it up here to break up some of that. So maybe I'll leave it there. Now for this top pocket here, I'm going to layer together a bunch of papers to make a tag. Now I've printed this from a different Steampunk digital kit. Obviously the balloons and the train are steampunk, but they just don't go with Christmas. So I'm going to use the shape, but I'm going to cover it with my paper. And why I like this is because this image here is that center one. So I have a template that I use to cut from my green paper. So I'm going to just adhere this here to the center. And then I've shrank down these little images that I had previously that were bigger. So these ones, you know, were bigger whenever I showed you the digital kit. So I just went ahead and shrank these down. And I'm going to be putting this here in the center. And then I just have some of the snowflake and that gear paper that I'm going to back this tag on. And then I've got a little strip of my fabric here that I'm going to put in the center here like this. But I've got to ink up all of my paper, so I'm going to go ahead and put this together, and then I'll be back to show you what it looks like. So this is what my tag looks like. Hopefully you can see I added some of the Nouveau drops, so I added it to the fur around her hat and her coat, and then on the top one where the snow is. So hopefully you can see some of that sparkle and that glitter. I'm going to let this dry, and then this is going to go back here in this pocket. I'm going to be making an insert now for this large pocket, and so I have this piece here. I love this paper, I just think it's so pretty. I think the edges and including the middle fold. I'm going to start, actually I think I'm going to start on the outside. So I have this folded in half and all these little pieces here. So I'm going to use these and create a little piece like this, almost like a postage stamp strip. And just to give it a little bit of color, I'm going to put this here and here like this on the outside. Then I'm going to open up on the inside, and I've just trimmed this paper here down from side to side so that it'll be the same width, and I'm just going to apply it here, and then I'm going to score it down the middle once it's dry, and then I'll fold this up as a journal, booklet, bookmark type thing. So I do have this on the inside, and then I hope you can see this. I've added some of my Nuvo drops around the kind of fur looking pieces on her, and then I added my glossy accents on the clock and then on the two little lenses of the glasses on her. And so I'm going to set this aside to dry, and then I'm going to put it down in this large pocket. So I'm going to work on another large insert. It's pretty much all I have left, I think, at this point, is some of the larger ones. And my book is definitely getting chunkier. It's not too chunky, thankfully, but definitely starting to get bigger on the right hand side. But I'm going to continue adding things to it because I like all these little fun pieces. So right now I'm just layering up 2 pieces of the paper, and then I'm going to add a pocket to this to make it a little bit more exciting. So I'm going to make this one down here almost like a library card pocket, but this is going to be a tag, so I'm going to shape the corners here in just a minute. I had this one extra tag and it was driving me nuts. I wanted to figure out how to use it. So I'm hopeful that it'll work okay in the insert where I want it to go, because it's going to go in one of those larger pockets. And I don't want it to get caught on anything, but I think it should be okay. And then I've just taken this piece of paper here and just inked it up, and I'm going to place that here in the pocket. And then I have a little label from a different Christmas kit. It's not steampunk, but it does have those holly leaves on it. And I'm just going to place it down here. And let's see. Here's my little trick that I like to do. Once I have my corner off, I just flip it over and use it to cut the second corner so that they match. Okay, now I'm going to ink around these edges and hopefully it'll fit in my book. So this is for this pocket here, and it is going to be snug. So let's see if I can widen this pocket just a little bit, and it might be snug because the glue is still a little tacky between these sheets. So let me see if I can get this in here. If not, I'll have to find another place for it and find something else for this pocket. Okay. So it does fit there. Let's see when I pull it out, and it pulls out okay. So I'm down to my last 2 pieces to go and I will be done. Now this one, I had a piece of this paper and I have these 2 things. So I'm just gonna take this one. I decided I wanted to make this almost like an envelope. So while it was straight, I just kind of put this in here and then I folded it. I didn't measure anything. Then I folded this so that it would be a flap. I cut the corners on this, and then I wanted this to be slanted so it was a little easier, because when it was straight, this was getting lost. You couldn't see in it as well. So I just measured a 1/2 inch from the edge, and then I just kind of decided how far down I wanted it to go in the center. And then I drew a line and I just cut along that, and I like the way that that looks. So I also have cut some paper to go here and then inside of here. So I'm going to put these on first, and then I'm going to close up the sides of my envelope before I start to add some things to the inside and add a little belly band as a closure. So once I have those papers on, I'm just going to come in here and add some adhesive down my sides. Now I have a lot of extra room, so I don't have to be super careful and make this a super thin line. And then I have this little postcard that I've just layered up with some of the steampunk images that I'm going to place in here. And then I have this paper. I shrank it down from the original, you know, this was supposed to be on 2 pieces, 2 sides on 1 piece. I shrank it down, so I have several of these, and I'm going to make a little booklet here. So this is a journaling card from a different steampunk kit that I'm going to use as an inside piece. And then I'm just going to add the little steampunk Christmas tree from this Christmas kit to match my pieces. So I can add it here, but I think I'm going to add it here, and I'm going to do it off to the side. That way I have additional room for journaling on this card. So I'll put it down here. Like that. And then I'm going to put this one in this envelope this direction. That way you can see that kind of like the spine when you pull it out. Then as a closure, I have this label piece, and I'm going to make a belly band out of this. My band piece here is 1 inch wide, and it's 8 inches long. So I am going to just apply some adhesive here to the end. And put the band on here like this first. Then I'm going to take this I'm going to crease this a little tiny bit bigger than the actual envelope piece. So if I pull it this way, you'll see it's just a little bit larger. And then I'm going to do the same thing here with this side, making it a little bit larger. That way it'll be easier to slide this band on and off. If it's too tight, it'll be just a little bit more challenging to get it on and off of the envelope. So I'm just going to glue this down to here, just like that. And then hopefully, there we go. It's easy to slide, and it's a little bit bigger probably than I even needed it to be, but that's okay. I'd rather it be too big or a little bit bigger than it should have been than it to be too small. And I'm going to take this and place this right here in this side pocket. And now I only have one more page left, so we're going to work on this page here. I'm going to be layering up a lot of things on this page. I may regret it later if it gets to be pretty bulky. but it's the last thing I'm doing and it's not too bulky so far of the entire book, so I think I should be good. What I'm doing first, I'm just going to be placing a plain paper. This is one of those background papers from the collection. I'm just going to place it here on the top paper and trying to get this on so that it's straight. If my head goes in frame, just bear with me for a minute. It's the one bad thing about doing things on camera is sometimes it's really hard to keep your head out of the frame and to still be able to see certain things. I don't think you want to see the top of my head, so I try to do things at a distance. Now I did only have a smaller piece, so I think I'm going to cut a piece of paper to go up here. I didn't do it yet, but I think I might use, oh, it's not big enough. I will use a paper there to cover that when I'm finished with the rest of it. So next I have this green paper, and I did cut it to make sure that it doesn't go below this paper whenever it is fully down. Not that it would really matter, but I just like to kind of keep things hidden sometimes from those underneath the flaps that are on the fronts of things. Just a personal style preference. So add this piece here next, and I'm going to just try to line it up as best I can, side to side as well, and it looks like that's pretty good. It's been really hard to work with this thin copy paper. The adhesive seems to dry a lot faster than when I use typical scrapbook paper like I'm used to using. So that's been a challenge. I'm going to take this and make this a pocket for this journaling card. So I want to make sure that I have enough room for the journaling card to fit. And I'm not backing this with any additional paper. I'm just going to leave it as is since I've got so many layers already going underneath of here. Okay, so now we have the pocket on. I just backed my journaling card, same paper as this. And then I have a little tag here, or a little label, I'm sorry. And I'm just going to adhere the sides of this right down here, like this. And then I have these little tiny tickets. I'm just going to stick in there like that. And then the last thing I need to do is find a piece of paper to cover that top part. And I have this red paper here, the poinsettias, so I think I'm just going to use that. Make it easy on myself. I was going to use the green stripe, but I think I like the red. It'll bring that red from around here too. So I'm just going to hurry up and ink these edges and then add this to the top of my page. Give it a little bit of color up there. It is a little bit plain, but I do like to keep some plain spots for journaling. I like to have journals that are pretty, but also functional. Personally, that's what I like, so that's what I try to do. And I think I might add the stocking up here too. Yep. Oh, so I'm going to go ahead and ink these edges really quick. And then just add this so that it's not quite as plain up there. And I'm just going to adhere the whole thing down. I'm not going to make it a tuck or anything like that. I think I have plenty of little tucks and pieces already on this page. So I want it over here. No, I'm going to put it over here. So quite a few layers. I mean, my paper is thin, so it's not a big deal, but definitely you can see that there's a lot of layers in there. Okay. So the last thing I'm going to do on this page is add some of my Nouveau glitter. And what I've been doing on a lot of the girls is I've just been adding glitter to the hair in strands. So not all of them, but just since the hair has these wavy pieces, I'm just going to add some there. And then one of the other things that I've been doing on some of my other pieces is adding the glossy accents. So I think I'm going to do that to her glasses up here too. And then I'm going to leave this page to dry. And then after that, I think I'm going to go through and add the final embellishments. And I don't know that I'm going to do that on video, but if I do, I will have another video before I do a flip through. I hope you found it helpful to see how I've built some of my pieces, and I hope you will join me in the final video. Don't forget to check out all the links in the description box below. That's the easiest way to watch all the other videos in the Crafty Christmas in July 25 collaboration. There are lots of videos there for you, and I hope you will enjoy them. I'll see you in the next video.